Okay.
Good afternoon. My jollof rice is the best.
Oh boy. Here we go. Hi, lovely people. Today we decided to do another sit-down video because we realized a lot of you don't actually know the full story, and I will humbly admit that I lied in what video was that?
It wasn't a lie, it was an honest error.
It was an honest error, but I basically didn't even tell you the right month that he was diagnosed. So we decided to backtrack a bit and go over our journey and share that with you.
Yeah, so was rear-ended at a traffic light in 2015, and about a month after that started getting tingling in my toes and my fingers and some random numbness, and that was the beginning.
I just want to be clear that I don't want anyone to think that we're saying he got ALS because he got into a car accident. What we have been told by several doctors is that that event was probably the catalyst to get those symptoms really in gear. So we just wanted to be clear about that, because I don't want anyone to think that if you get into a car accident you could get ALS. That's not what we're saying.
I went to see a chiropractor a bunch of times and a physical therapist, and then about when I started playing football again, a friend of mine, Arrow, took me aside and said that I don't look like myself, just look slow and tired. So
And he, if I remember correctly, he kind of chalked it up to like maybe he was getting older, you know? So then what happened?
after the accident, I went to see a doctor about the pain in my back and everything, and he did some tests on me, and he found weakness in my wrist and referred me to a neurologist. The first neurologist, he didn't know what it was. He said it could be a lot of different things, and he sent me to another one in the University of Miami.
So basically, he encouraged Mustafa to stay positive and to keep searching.
So after that, I went to see a bunch of different naturopathic doctors and did all their treatments. I used to get those walk on your back massages from this Chinese masseuse in Plantation.
That's in Florida.
Yeah, in Florida. And the lady that owned the place referred me to an acupuncturist.
Mm-hmm. When he started going to the acupuncturist, it was actually encouraging because his wrist started to feel stronger, and that lasted over a week, you know, the strength that he got regained. When he went back for another appointment, it lasted less time. In each time that he went, it just lasted less and less until after the 10th time, the strength in his wrist was only there for a couple of hours.
Mm-hmm.
So that was an avenue explored. That
I went to see this guy called Dr. Whitman.
Mm-hmm.
He was a neurological doctor, a scientist, and we tried different things.
By the way, I want to interject because I do think that it's really important for people to realize that a lot of times ALS patients choose to try different alternative methods because of the red tape and all that goes on with the FDA actually approving medications for this disease. It's a good thing to try different things because you're hopeful and you're taking a risk, but it does also cause a hindrance in the research of the disease, because when you have an ALS patient that is trying other methods, then they're not actually trying the methods that have been approved or participating in trials to get other medications approved. I'm sorry. So you were talking about Dr. Whitman.
Yeah, so we saw him for like, what, a year?
Yes.
And nothing really worked. So that takes us up to when I went to the Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville. And
Yes. That's where we saw Dr. Oscarson.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who did a bunch of tests, right? And the trip is about 7 hours away, and Mustafa actually went quite a few times. At the time, he was still driving, even though he had lost some mobility in his hands, he could still drive. But he always did go with someone. And
they initially thought it was multifocal motor neuropathy.
Yes, that was actually your first diagnosis.
Yeah.
I want to interject here as well, because I want you guys to understand that ALS is not a disease that you test for. ALS is what I call a deductive diagnosis, and so basically they treat it as if it's this thing, and if the treatments for that thing don't work, then they move on to a next diagnosis and the next diagnosis until they deduce you have ALS. Dr. Oscarson didn't actually introduce the idea that it could be ALS until quite a few visits in. And that came after he first diagnosed him with multifocal motor neuropathy, which he said had a cure. And so the treatments that cure that disease did not work for Mustafa. And that was extremely disappointing. That's actually when he introduced the word. I had heard it before. I had heard the term before. And again, for those of you who are not familiar, ALS stands for amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. It is an incurable disease, and basically your nerves die. And when your nerves die, your brain doesn't communicate to your muscles atrophy and waste away, and eventually you lose mobility, and typically it results in respiratory failure and the passing of the individual. So there is a percentage of people that are diagnosed with ALS that have familial ALS, which means that it's passed down through their genes. That is not Mustafa's case. And
that was like January 2018.
Yes.
When he first floated that idea.
Up until that time, I had not gone with Mustafa to any of those appointments. And once Mustafa mentioned to me what Dr. Oscarson was suggesting, I was like, I have to go to the next one. I need to be clear on what is being said, what has been done. And at the time, wait, that wasn't in 2018.
Yeah, it was.
Musa and I disagree a little bit on the timeline. But what I want to say is that Dr. Oscarson was great. And I went there when I was pregnant with our second child. And I remember him looking down at my belly, looking up, his eyes kind of welling up with tears when he told Moose that there was a possibility that this could really be ALS. And he had a gentleman come in that was running the ALS clinic. I think they were introducing the process of starting ALS clinic, and I mean, at the end of the day, it was too far for us to travel to, and so we opted to do ALS clinic here in our local ALS clinic facility. But Moose sees it different than me, so maybe you can say your part.
I think you're confused.
You think I'm confused?
You're confusing two different visits. So
Did I go twice?
Yeah, you did.
Oh, okay.
First visit was when you were pregnant.
So again, we disagree. But that's okay, because I think my memory is worse than Mustafa's. So we're gonna go with him.
Okay, come give me the hug again. so that everybody can know that you love me. Yay! He loves me. Yay!
Kabir, you love Dada?
Yeah.
Do you love Mama?
Yeah.
You love Ninja Turtles?
Yeah.
Who do you love most?
Yeah,
KB, KB, come give me a hug. It's Mama's turn. I love you.
No, I'm gonna put.
Aw, he was gonna give you a kiss.
His kiss is throwing his cheek on my lips.
Oh, he gave you one.
Yeah, he's petting
Good
me.
job,
The
Gibbs.
guy he gives he really
Food. No, no tira eso en el piso. Okay, Mommy's making you breakfast now, okay? Okay. Say bye-bye, everybody.
Bye bye, bye.